The move from primary to secondary is an important moment in the lives of young people. For parents, it's an anxious time as they choose the best school for their children. For secondary schools, it means liaising with many different primaries. And for primary schools, it's a time to say goodbye to children who have been with them for many years. In this film, we look at the work of 2 primary schools in Brighton and Hove as they prepare their pupils for transfer.
My name's Jo.
I am really relaxed and cool about going to Varndine.
My friend in the other school said they bog wash you.
What does that mean?
Put your head down the loo.
Well, I wanted to go to Patcham because I sort of had all my friends going up there as well as closer to home.
It's a major milestone for children, and they approach it with very mixed emotions. For some, they can't wait. You know, there's great anticipation, but there's also some anxiety. And teachers do need to pay close attention because children have been at school for a long time. They've been learning a lot, and actually what we want to do is to build on what they've already learnt and what they know and can do.
You will have different teachers for different subjects. It's not going to be somebody that knows you.
During Year 6, teachers can play a vital role in preparing their students for transfer. We will examine some of the ways children can be equipped for the move.
I suppose if I'm honest, I start as soon as they come into Year 6. I mean, at the end of Year 6 we've got SATs. A lot of children get very frightened by that. And so right from the beginning I sort of drop that in and talk about when they're at high school and this will be useful for when they go up. We chat about it. I get lots of children coming back to see me, and on inset days I encourage them to come back into school. And that's great because the children talk to them, and I very often ask them questions about how it's going. And they always come back very bouncy and happy. I haven't had anybody that's come back miserable, so actually that's very good and very positive for the children that are in my class this year.
11. Who has already been 11 for most of this year?
We do have a lot of circle time and discussions about these sort of anxieties, and the kids say, is it true that ... happens? And we do talk about it, and as much as we can, we say no.
For primary children, actually part of the excitement of going to secondary school is that it's different, and they're going to have access to different facilities. But most primary schools know their children very well, and of course they've been there a long time, and they tend to have one class teacher per class. I mean, obviously there's you know, group work, and they meet other teachers, but they do tend to have in any one year someone who knows them really well.
At Hangleton Junior, they have identified a group of children who may find transfer difficult.
Now, slightly different this week. There's 6 in the group, so it's a nice small group, and these are children who we think would be particularly vulnerable for various different reasons. A couple of them, you feel, they're very small and are quite sort of immature in their attitude, and they could quite easily be bullied or easily led. They've all got something about them that makes them quite vulnerable. So we've just been really trying to get them to express their feelings, think about problems that they're going to come up with before they get there, and trying to help them, show them ways to deal with these problems so that when they go, they are a little bit more equipped to be able to deal with these problems.
Don't want to end up going to a new school and getting lost, having a new teacher for every single lesson.
It's okay, but no kid really likes school a bit.
Okay, I'm Angela.
Working with the group is speech and language therapist Angela Sloan.
That's right. Because one of the ways, if you had a problem, which of those feelings do you think you would feel if you had a problem?
Embarrassed, because you might be embarrassed for showing, asking someone and telling your feelings.
Okay.
Things that can prove to be a problem for transition are things like making friends, solving problem scenarios that you're going to get into, whether it's getting lost in school or how to get yourself organised and ready for school, those sorts of things. Just generally monitoring your behaviour and being aware of how you feel about things and expressing your feelings appropriately. And the common theme for me in all those areas of feelings, problem solving, friendships, you need communication skills. What do you know about octopuses?
They live in the water. They have 8 legs.
Right, they've got 8 legs.
They live in water.
They live in water. Ryan?
They live.
They live. They are living things.
And they have eyes.
What I'm going to teach you today is a way of solving problems is to think of the picture of an octopus with its 8 tentacles. Okay, so now can you think of a problem that you might have when you get there the first week or 2? Nick?
I have no friends.
Right, okay. So, and how might that make you feel, Nick?
Lonely.
Right. I have no friends. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I have no friends. Okay, so one of the feelings here is feeling a bit lonely. Right, so feeling lonely, thinking,
That's my leg.
I haven't got any friends at my new school. Then you have to think, for every tentacle, can you come up with something that you could do, a solution? What could you do if you're feeling lonely and you haven't got friends? And that's where, do you think we can come up with an idea for a solution to the problem of having no friends at Hove Park?
Friend with a book. Read a book.
Okay, we can just put your hands up and we'll see if we can go round and get a solution for each tentacle. Laura?
You could, like, just begin to talk to them and then might become...
Okay, begin to talk to other children.
You might get an imaginary friend called Peter.
I'm going to say do nothing.
That's boring. Why?
Well, I was just going to say, because getting solutions, you see, that is, you could do nothing then, couldn't you?
I mean, a bit boring. No, because that's why you're lonely, because you do nothing. That's why you should try and make friends. So get that idea. Because if you're lonely, you don't do nothing, because then you will stay lonely.
All right. So, why I put that one is, because you can't do all 8 things or 9 things at once, so you have to make a choice about which solution you're going to try with your plan. I think some of them will have big problems with friendships and making friends, keeping friends. That whole stage, of sort of being in a learning group or a class where they don't know many other people and just needing to get to know new people. I think that will be a problem.
At Patcham Junior, they have also identified friendships as a possible problem area at transfer.
We used to find that at secondary age, sometimes around here, children would go to different secondary schools, and some children would be distraught because their lifelong Siamese twin had suddenly gone off to another school, and so they've been feeling very left alone, and so that was quite difficult for them. So we're very fortunate in that we're a 3-form intake. So we take the opportunity every year to mix the children up, and what we do is we give them choices so that they give us a list of 4 children that they would be happy to be with, and then what we try and do is the teachers, we look and we say what would be a good class combination and who would work well. And I think it does give them a chance to forge new friendships, as well as preparing them for secondary school.
I go into our local partner schools, 4 or 5 of them, and I talk to all Year 6 about moving on in general. I don't talk about the school, about our particular school, but I talk about general things, the type of the different things that they'll find in secondary schools. So it's implanted in their mind quite early on about timetable, room changes, and the different subjects that they might meet.
For you to then buy your school sweatshirt.
Children transferring to Patcham High School have an opportunity to complete a friendship form. Jane Todd is visiting Patcham Juniors to explain how it all works.
Polo shirts. On that day.
It gives them more confidence if they're with one person at least that they know, and that's what we're looking for. But we also want them to go out and meet other children, because there are children from 21 other schools coming in, and we think it's very important for them to really extend themselves and be confident.
I've also talked to all your teachers, so I know exactly how they feel about who should be with who and who shouldn't perhaps be in the same class as someone else. I've taken my notes on that, but I'm now going to ask you if you would like to, first of all, put your name down. Now, you've done your name, you've underlined it. What I would like you now, please, to do is put your first choice of friend. Your first choice of friend now.
Well, it was hard because you only had 3 people you could choose, because I have a lot of friends which I'd like to be in the same class as me. But then you still see them at break times, you'll still be able to see them at break times and things like that.
Children are very good at differentiating between friends who it's good to work with and friends who it's good to play with, and they're not necessarily the same people.
Think carefully. Your second name now, the second choice.
Giving children the opportunity to make choices like that can actually be beneficial, and that some of the children who don't work well in kind of ordinary patterns of friendship groups do work when they're given choices of this kind.
But you mustn't worry if you're not with somebody you were hoping to be with, because there are so many of you, you're bound to know somebody else in your class. You're bound to, because there are so many of you. And then you'll meet again at breaks, and you'll meet at lunch times, and you'll be able to catch up on the news.
Do you think you're going to make new friends? Do you think that's going to be easy?
Yeah, make loads of friends.
At neighbouring Hove Park School, teaching groups are not based on pupil choice, but on information received from the primary schools.
The information we get from primary schools is really essential in terms of how we group students in the first instance, because we have a list of names, boys and girls, and schools that they come from. But on top of that, we have their SEN needs, we have their levels, and we use all of that information from their class teachers in compiling groups, because we believe in mixed ability teaching in many of our subject areas, and so we try and create teaching groups which are balanced in terms of ability.
No, I can understand the lack of friendship forms, because I don't think that is such a good idea. As Blatchmill gave them out in May time, and come July, lots of people have broken up friends or made new friends or whatever by that stage anyway. Especially girls.
It takes a long time to actually get a good friendship, because like the friends I've gone up with I've known now for, well, some of them I've known since I was in play school.
But I wanted just a friend, just for those first few weeks of when it's really difficult settling in, to have somebody that he knows quite well with him.
I was a bit concerned, because I thought, well, I don't want to start having to ask for Jade to be with one of her friends, but as it's turned out, it sounds like someone's had some input in it, because like she's with two other good friends of hers. So I'm really pleased.
I knew that my 2 best friends were going to be in my class already, but nobody else.
The move to secondary can be a worrying time for parents. At Hove Park School, they hope meeting the teachers during the summer term will help.
I think parents do get very anxious. And, of course, if children don't get their first place, that is a very, very difficult situation to manage, both for the parents, for the child, for the primary school. So I think it needs to be a collaborative partnership, I think, between the primary school and the parents in supporting that moving process, because for them it's as stressful, if not more stressful, than for their own children.
Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to have you here tonight, and I'm sure that you're full of questions.
Secondary schools in Brighton and Hove don't select their students. We have an open access policy, and parental choice is what determines where students go.
Just looking at the tables and things that parents tend to do, the league tables and results and things. Other schools that were on the list did a bit better, so that was a bit of a concern. And also an annoyance that because we live in this area, we weren't entitled to go to Varndine or Stringer.
It is a difficult time. I think parents, if guided well, the process has to start fairly early. But the important thing is to try not to wind their children up in the process.
There wasn't really an awful lot of choice, because they moved the boundary line so far down that children from the top of Hangleton could not get in anymore at all. If he really would have wanted to go to Blatchmill, then I would have gone to appeal if necessary. But he actually preferred Hove Park.
Sometimes it can be more traumatic for parents than it can be for the students. And the students often, within 2 weeks of arriving in the school, totally settled, they know their way around the building, they know the lessons, the teachers, and they can move about with great independence.
Clearly, if parents are anxious, then that feeds very quickly into the young people that we're working with and will slow their learning and slow their development within our school.
Concerns for anxious and reluctant parents have motivated Jane Todd and her colleagues to arrange a meeting for parents at a local pub. They hope the neutral venue will encourage them to voice their worries.
And so she's, worried about making friends, going to secondary school. And the other thing that she was really concerned about, she was worried she wouldn't have the correct school uniform to go in with on the first day.
I think just having lots of different teachers for all the different subjects, and just having how she was going to cope with that, really. That's sort of the main.
Maria's son, Kevin, has special educational needs. She has particular concerns about how he will cope with the move.
Really just to find out as much as I could about what happens when they move from junior school to high school, because it's a big move, and I know my son's very worried and I'm very worried, so that was the main reason I came. As long as he's happy, that's all I'm worried about, because it's such a big change. It's a huge change for them and for us, really, as as parents. So I just hope he's happy and he's settled in and makes some new friends, because although a lot of his friends are going as well, his two closest friends have both gone to different schools, so he's not got those with him, which he's had all through his life, really, at school.
See, there are going to be particular groups. There are going to be groups of children who have various special needs, and it's essential that they're picked up before transfer and that the transfer is as smooth as possible and that those needs are, identified and met.
How are you getting on? What have you written so far?
Riding.
Yes.
For somebody like Kev, it can be quite daunting. There's a lot to take in, and we knew he would find it difficult. So we thought we'd give him a leg up. The more visits he makes, the more likely he is to know his way around, and so it actually gives him a head start.
Well, Mrs. Bridges is our head of special needs, okay, and I'm head of year.
To support his transfer, Ray Carter has arranged for Kevin to make frequent visits to his new school.
And the gym. Oh, that's the swimming pool there. No diving boards, I'm afraid. You come in this door, and then they've got a counter. I think it's locked. They've got the counter. Can you see there? Where they put the food out at the end there. It says swipe card to start. So you swipe it first, so it takes your number, and then you put the money in, and then it goes automatically onto your card. You do French in year 7, and then you'll do German in year 8. You can come out to the quad here and sit and be with your friends. Here you are, this is the science room. Very sensible. This is a room just with computers in.
And you'll always find somebody from the special needs department in here.
Okay.
So if you've got any problems, you can't find Mrs. Todd, you can always come here and you know that somebody will be up here that can help.
Yeah. For a child like Kevin, he forgets things very easily. His sequencing skills are very poor, and so he will find it difficult to remember what he did the last time. So if we do that a few times, he will have recollection of the layout of the school, perhaps, or various people. I mean, he knows me now, he knows the special needs people now. So I think that's been very valuable for him. I think it's repetition that's very important, particularly for Kevin, and that's why we've got him in quite regularly over the last few weeks, really.
The support's been very good because they've given him more visits than the rest of the children. They've given him more opportunity to look around the school, get used to it, to meet some of his teachers, particularly his form tutor. And just generally to sort of help him fit in and look round.
Patcham High School have arranged an event to support new parents of children with special needs. It's an opportunity to meet the SEN team and ask questions. Senkos from primary schools have also been invited to attend.
We think it's nice for you to have some idea who we are, and also for you to be a little bit more familiar with how we work, because it is very different in secondary school to primary school.
And the idea is to help the parents feel empowered
to support their child and to understand the way we work, because we take from 20 different primary schools. All their special needs is worked in slightly different ways. And so if we say, look, this is before they even come, before they've got a moan, so this is how we're going to work, and this is how you need to work with us, and this is how we can do it together.
His concern is homework, and mine as well.
Our policy is changing that homework is set, but if for any reason your child can't do the homework or doesn't want to engage, you know, it's not worth it. So it's getting a balance. We're actually trying to empower the student to want to do it and it to be supported by you. You won't be in detention if it's not done. The child won't be, but if you can support and encourage, it's only going to be advantageous.
My son has got special needs and he's here at the moment, and he's picked on a lot because of his special needs. Now my other son's coming up, he's obviously got it as well, and I'm a bit worried because he does tend to get in a lot of bullying things because of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, nobody's saying that bullying doesn't happen. Bullying is a real issue, and we address each individual situation to the very best that we can. I would be lying to you, and I'm sure Rose would, if I said bullying doesn't happen at Patcham High School, and we ignore it. We address every issue. We have the issue of children falling out and having relationship difficulties and not being able to, for various reasons, to form stable relationships. And they need extra support, and for that we put in as much support as we possibly can, these writing groups and stuff like that. But also, it's about children feeling empowered to deal with the situation themselves, and for us all to work together to actually make the problem so it's not a problem. I think that's a big thing, which is why we want to work with parents and talk to them about what bullying is, and the difference. A fallout between children is not bullying. So there's a big educational thing that's got to go on about, or reminding parents of, which is where they're going back to these parenting workshops really, that it is an abnormal teenager who doesn't fall out with friends, who doesn't have relationship difficulties, and that it's about communicating concerns and anxieties.
Schools in Brighton and Hove have developed a Moving On booklet. The children begin working on it in the last weeks of Year 6.
Now try and think about us. You don't need to chat to your friends.
Today, Patcham Juniors are writing a letter about themselves to their new teachers.
So, what are you going to say here? Try and give an honest opinion of yourself. I'm not into this negative stuff. Honest opinions, let's go for goodies. You want to make a very good first impression on them. So basically, in your first paragraph, you're not saying, oh, I'm awful at this and I'm terrible at that. Because that's what they'll pick up on. You've got to think, I'm actually really good at this and I'm really good at that.
The Moving On booklet will transfer with the children to their new schools, where the work will be continued.
There's chunks for high school and chunks for primary school. I think if they're left more than sort of half a term, then they would be rejected because, as she said, they're very easy access, but they are quite young. And I think they'd be far too cool to actually want to look at them after half term. But for those initial, you know, perhaps the first breaking in lessons, they might be quite useful things. And a good introductory tool as well, because it's saying a lot about them.
Yeah. Another page of your transition book for going to Patcham High. I am good at... Yeah.
I've had him for 4 years and, you know, obviously I'd like to see him well supported, which is what he needs, obviously.
You're going to miss him?
Dreadfully, yeah. Yeah, having had him for 4 years, we've built up, obviously, a good relationship and we know our boundaries. We know we can talk about Coronation Street when we've done our work. And he's such a likeable boy that, yeah, I'll miss him a lot. Yeah.
Being a teacher myself and getting notes up from the year before, that there isn't always time to give them as much, to look at them as much as you would like. And when you've got so many coming up from so many different places, I suspect, I have no idea, but I suspect that I actually have to find out these things for themselves. With people like Joe, I think it will be fine because it will become apparent very quickly. With Kev, you know, he'll sort of slide back unless somebody's there actually on his case. It would be more difficult, perhaps.
They're very proud to show their tutor his or her letter, which hopefully the tutor's read in the holidays, because that helps the tutor to get to know the students much better. When the Moving On booklets arrive with us, and they're all coming in now, I'm trying to sort them into tutor groups, the children will work from them in a registration time or in our citizenship time on a Wednesday. And they will then look at the pages which are allocated for the secondary school.
One of the things that has been used more recently is what are called bridging units. Bridging units is work that you start in the last few weeks of the primary school, and then you continue it into the secondary school. So that there is a continuity of the things that you've done, and that avoids the kind of new start, as it were.
0.5 times 40.
At Blatchington Mill School, they are pioneering another bridge between primary and secondary schools.
What do you think would be a useful way of pairing the numbers? I've invited 10 local primary schools to send their most able mathematicians for 6 sessions here, which I've run for the past 2 years. I've found them to be very successful, and the feedback from the junior schools also indicates that the youngsters who come along to the sessions really benefit and come back with a big buzz about things. Meeting up with a large number of able students isn't something that they're used to doing, so getting themselves socially aware and having to communicate mathematically with very able students from other schools, I think, is something that benefits them.
You divide them both by 10, don't you? Times. 5 times 6 is 30, so you've got 3 there, so it's 3.
I think any way in which the school can encourage, and then obviously the secondary school pick it up, children to be able to demonstrate their current, quality of their work is very important, because there is still around an under-expectation of children, and actually children are very, very capable people, and the important thing is to build on where they are now and move on from there.
It's going to be weird sort of having to remember all the names of your teachers and have to find all your different classrooms and meeting new people and everything like that.
In the smaller schools like Hangleton, they have like one teacher, and you can basically, they know really what's going on, you can just ask them. In secondary school, you don't really know who to ask.
Mrs. Haddington, and she helped me a lot, and I'm going to miss her too.
Don't really have any concerns about I might get lost on the first day, but that happens to everyone, doesn't it?